intro is live, so we'll count down, and when I unmute and transition to you, Brian, you can do our little, hey, what's up, it's and spear metal, blah, blah, blah. I have so-and-so with me. You know what it is.
I know what it is. Metal Dad has done this before. Oh, are we live? What's going on, everybody? Metal Dad here. How's it going? We're back for another week here at Spirit Metal, and I'm here to play a game of chess with our boy Turbo. You guys all know Turbo. He's been around here before. Where is? There he is.
Hello,
Turbo's
everyone.
up on the screen. He's back for another round. He brought his guitar. Do we have a name for this guitar?
I don't know.
Have you named her yet?
Not yet.
That is fucking nice. It looks like it sounds beautiful.
Made in Canada, bought at the local music store in town. Had a few gigs in on her so far. Shredded my fingers a few times.
It looks
But,
brand
yeah,
spanking
I haven't got
new.
a name yet. I don't know what I'll call it. The All Canadian Cheese Maker. Or something. I don't know. But it's nice. All Canadian,
All
but
Canadian
it's got a
cheese
very
maker.
Gibbs. Yeah. I don't know.
Well, there you have it, folks. The all-Canadian cheese maker.
I have no idea where that came from.
Sometimes you just gotta let it go.
I don't know. Yeah. ACCM. That's it. The All Canadian. Moving on.
So, Turbo, a lot's happened this week.
Yep.
We've got Joe Biden words coming back to haunt him about World War III.
Yeah.
We've got weapons being sent to the Ukraine on everybody's tax dollar while we pay for higher prices for everything.
So they claim, anyways.
We've got more Hunter Biden stuff, obviously. That keeps just slow dripping
Oh,
out.
I didn't hear any new stuff on that.
Well, I'm sure there's more. I might be talking
I've been
out
a
of my
bit out
ass,
of the
too.
loop, so I haven't been getting all my usual online sources. I've kind of been slowly but surely pulling back a little bit. Just been busy, but
People have been probing or not probing. People are getting more and more vocal over the Ghislaine Maxwell clientele list.
what did I say? It was a little meme about it was like Archie Bunker leaning over saying like, well, apparently everything's nothing's classified in Washington D.C. anymore.
I saw that meme.
Except for the Ghislaine Maxwell list, and it's like, yeah. So there's that for sure. Yeah, and all this Pelosi news, all that's the body.
Yes,
cams
that's
are
the new
starting
one
to come
too. Did you see that footage?
out. I didn't see the footage. No.
Were we able to
but-
pull that footage up so we can see that?
Okay, I haven't seen it.
Well,
But I mean, the whole thing is like, okay, you've got one of the most powerful families in all of the United States. Yet the police department didn't know what house they were going to check up. Like, it's just all BS. Okay, so
they were both holding on to the hammer.
So now we're gonna watch this.
Hi, how you doing?
Oh yeah.
What's going on, man?
Get out in their underwear together.
There we go.
Hi. Drop the hammer.
Nope. Hey.
What is going on right
I'm
now?
not getting an answer on call.
Hi. How you doing?
In the just-released body camera audio, San Francisco police officers calmly knock on the front door. The door opens and Pelosi is standing next to suspect D.A.W.G, both appearing nervous or confused, both clinging to a hammer, and then D.A.W.G savagely attacks Pelosi with that hammer. Pelosi goes down and can be heard making snoring noises on the ground as police wrestle with D.A.W.G, who's wearing a sweatshirt, shorts, and sneakers, trying to get him into handcuffs. Alex Stone, EBC News.
That he didn't actually get hit.
Well, that's kind of the way it looks. It's almost like
Hi. Drop the hammer.
Nope. Hey.
What is going on right
I'm
now?
not getting an answer on call.
Hi. How you doing?
In the just-released body camera audio, San Francisco police officers calmly knock on the front door. The door opens and Pelosi is standing next to suspect D.A.W.G, both appearing nervous or confused, both clinging to a hammer, and then D.A.W.G savagely attacks Pelosi with that hammer. Pelosi goes down and can be heard making snoring noises on the ground as police wrestle with D.A.W.G, who's wearing a...
Yeah.
super drunk.
Do we have that audio?
I can try to find it. Yeah.
If you can try and find it.
Looks like a lover's spat to me.
Well, Chris, I'm just going to point out that the new rule of the podcast is
Oh,
if you want to have your name on the table, you've got to play a game of chess on the
Have
podcast.
I got to win or?
No, you don't got to win. You just got to play a game of chess.
Okay.
We'll take our time. We won't move
I do
too
enjoy
fast.
chess though.
Good. I like.
Yeah.
I
that
got
whole
back
thing
into
was,
it.
Was very, very strange and just. Yeah, nothing gets on the news
Friday,
by accident.
October.
San Francisco Police 74.
2022.
Oh, I called by mistake. What is this?
18 seconds.
This is San Francisco Police. Do you need help?
Oh, well, there's a gentleman here just waiting for my wife to come back. Nancy Pelosi.
2:23
He's just waiting for her to come back, but she's not going to be here for a day, so I guess we'll have to wait.
Okay, do you need police, fire, or medical for anything?
8 seconds.
I don't think so.
2:23 and 58 seconds.
Is the Capitol Police around?
2:20.
No, this
They
is San
usually
Francisco.
protect my wife. They're usually here at the house protecting my wife. No. This gentleman just came into the house, and he wants to wait here for my wife to come home.
0, 2,
And so,
4 and 48.
anyway, he told me to put the phone down.
Do you know who the person is?
No, I don't know who he is. He has this. He's telling me not to. He's telling me not to do anything. Anyway, this gentleman says that he thinks everything ought to. He's telling me to put the phone down and just do what he says.
18 seconds.
Okay.
Okay, what's the gentleman's name?
I don't know. What's that?
My name's David.
The name is David.
Okay, and who is David?
I don't know. What's that?
I'm a friend of theirs.
Yeah, he says he's a friend, but as I said, I've never.
But you don't know who he is?
No, ma'am.
8 seconds.
Okay. He's telling me I'm being very leading, so I got to stop talking to you, okay?
25 and
Okay. You sure I can stay on the phone with you just to make sure everything's okay?
No, he wants me to get that off the phone.
0, 2,
Okay.
26
Okay.
and 0, 8
Thank you.
seconds.
Okay, bye.
Yeah. I don't even know how to follow that. There was no logical.
I feel like he's hammered because he's got a cup and he's got a glass.
Yeah, there was definitely.
So I feel like he's just hammered.
Yeah.
And he just doesn't know how to explain the situation on the phone to the police, but he's telling them kind of what's going on, but like isn't even able to articulate. Like he's confused almost. Who's this guy in my house? Like he says he wants to wait for my wife.
That whole thing just screams of BS on all angles. It's just like we're talking about these multi-millionaire people.
Well, he's like
super
he owns
wealthy.
that big winery, right?
How did this guy just randomly get
We
in the
find out who
house?
this guy actually is.
Where's the
Can you pull
security?
up that
Why did it
information?
take so long? It's just all fucking media manipulation.
I don't have any of it fucking.
It just screams bullshit. The whole thing just screams scam.
Like, but in the worst way.
Yeah.
It's almost like it's being done to make him look as dumb as possible. Almost like on purpose, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm just not buying any of this stuff. It's like you're telling me that these guys just randomly.
I think they own a winery. He obviously has more money than. Does he have more money than her?
He's the most successful day trader of all time.
Because of the information that she maybe gives to him?
No,
that's
none
right.
of this is.
He's actually, there's like a thing that was showing some of the highest and best day traders of all time and just how he's actually considered one of them.
So who wears the pants in that relation? You think Nancy wears the pants in that?
I think it almost feels like the word's getting out of how corrupt that the government is in Congress and all the insider trading that's going on.
So
if you do a weird event like this and just kind of distract distract and just seems like distraction for keep people's mind off what's really going on. It's just insider trading, and they're getting away with it.
Well, the
And the economy's being totally ruined. And, it just reeks of distract. Anyway, that's my take on it. I don't know.
Well, there's a lot of strange things going on. The World Economic Forum is acting like they are in charge, and they're an elected body that gets to tell us what to do.
I think they are in charge.
Did you see the stuff about Greta Thunberg?
Her arrest and some of the interviews? It's
all
all
that could be staged.
I mean, it was totally staged.
Look,
right? Yeah.
Did you Rebel News? Did you see the clip of the Rebel News?
Yeah,
we want to watch that
all
clip
those
and
people
see.
Interviewed, and she doesn't have to answer anything. It's just the whole thing is.
Who is she there to meet? Because apparently she was there for meetings, and you just wonder.
Who is she meeting with? Why is she there?
She's a celebrity face. She doesn't have to be intelligent. You can just tell by her little comments.
She's like, what,
She's
18?
just some dumb kid. She's 20 years old.
Is she 20?
She's just some dumb young woman.
How dare you?
Yeah, she's just a kid actor. She's a face, and that way people see it. It's like, I remember seeing this guy I know, and he's like, oh, she just reminds me of my granddaughter, and she's just trying. It's like, ma'am, like you've been suckered by this young girl now. So now you think because it reminds you of your granddaughter, like, come on, man, like, it's a bunch of bullshit. Like, and now she's at Davos, and I didn't fly there with private jets, and they're all eating steak dinners, and it's just blatantly obvious. I don't, and so these staged arrests, it's like, well, a lot of these protests, I know a guy who was beat up by the police in Ottawa, I've known people who protest in the past, and when you're actually at one of these climate protest things, the police aren't that nice, and they don't pause to take pictures and carry you, and you're not smiling. It's usually you got black eyes, and you got beat up, and when you have like a lot of over the years these native groups having protests and stuff, those girls aren't getting posed with pictures and having it all nice. They're getting smucked around with batons and stuff. So. Yeah, it's part of the game, right? It's part of the game. It's not a real protest.
In dangerous places like China or Saudi Arabia or any of the real actual...
Anywhere where they take the fire hose out on you and start fucking hosing you down.
Yeah, she doesn't talk about India or any of the places that are...
Yeah.
No, she doesn't know anything. She doesn't have to. She just needs to say her little script. So, yeah, that whole thing's very shifty. So then that whole thing, seeing that, what they're doing there, it's just like, no, I'm not buying any of it. There's too much weird shit.
Like, what can you buy anymore?
Well, news is not news and never has been. And it's funny, we were talking a little bit before the podcast there about, let's see. Yeah, sure. About the TV show, about Scooby-Doo and all that. People are kind of getting upset. They're like, okay, well, Velma's Indian
Fallen
now.
Pawn.
Or yeah, nice. I heard someone saying, how could you possibly make, Shaggy black or whatever? And it's like, hold up a sec. We're talking about television shows. I'm definitely not going to get up in arms about characters on television shows just because now... I question all the TV and movies I grew up with. It's all just like tainted with propaganda. You know what I mean? Well, so I have to take a real step back, and it's like, do I give a shit? Like, if all of a sudden there was a black Luke Skywalker, who gives a shit, man? Like, I care about actual black people that I know. I don't care about characters. Like, you know what I mean? Like, how does that affect... You know what I mean? Like, I care about actual real people, not characters. And so, yeah, you know what I mean? And so for now, like, even all the music I grew up on and stuff, you just like, how much of it is tainted, or how bad is it tainted, Like, ugh, So I certainly don't care really, like, if they change these characters and these storylines and all that shit. I don't give a fuck about that. I'm more interested in, like, the Mandela effect, about what we remember about these storylines and these characters, even if I don't care about them. I'm interested in the fact that, maybe they're changing the internet.
What if
know what I mean?
What if they're doing this now so that they can't... Okay,
Doing what, by the way?
Hold on. I had like
Okay.
my brain just got all twisted as I started to talk.
Okay.
So, I have this theory running through my brain that maybe we're kind of going through the Infinity War snap effect.
Okay.
Where basically somebody snapped the fucking gauntlet. Thanos snapped the gauntlet, and we're in that 5-year period where everything is upside down, backwards, and nobody knows what's going on. And we're about we're coming into 3 years of it now.
Well, that's interesting. I would add to this to that. Do you ever get the feeling that everything we learned about history and world history is if not completely wrong, a little askew? I mean, we know it's biased anyways. I mean, that's just the nature of history, right? You know, the victors return stuff. Or the victors write the story. So picture history a little bit skewed. And now all of a sudden, with the internet, if you can start changing facts, I mean, how many people you say something and if they can't look it up on Google, it didn't exist, right?
I don't know if I've ever met anybody like that, to be honest with you, because
it's so annoying.
Well, I maybe don't hang out with those people. Like, I'm trying to make sure that when I talk to somebody, I can have an intelligent conversation with them, because there's nothing worse than smacking your face off the table because you don't you can't actually.
But we all look stuff up. Like, we'll Google things.
Yeah,
we'll check, just for fun.
You have to, right?
So when you're aware of that concept and you say, so how hard would it be to manipulate that? From a technical perspective, not hard at all. Right? Like, it's super easy to just change text on the internet if you have the right clearance. I mean, look what hackers can do, let alone people who actually have access. What can people like Mark Zuckerberg and his executives do to Facebook with fact-checking stuff, right? So this sort of Mandela effect and the idea that, like, if everything feels weird, I think could also just as easily be explained by messing with your perception. So suddenly you change news feeds and you change newspaper headlines and you change information on the internet and algorithms, and you kind of mess with that sort of thing. You can certainly give people the feeling that, like, there's something really supernatural going on, which there entirely could be. But I think you could explain it a lot easier in kind of a more intelligence war type of term. You know what I mean? Right? You just start changing the facts and people get all confused, and then they're easier to manipulate, right?
Which would make sense, because it's starting to look and seem like history has been erased.
Yeah.
More than once.
Yeah.
And some of it may have been on purpose, some of it may be on accident. Or why did I fucking say that? Fuck!
On accident?
Alright.
Is that the one?
God damn it. I can't fucking believe I actually, even Melissa's streaming live said on accident, and I didn't even think about it like it's part of real speech.
Well, the beauty is language isn't an ever-evolving thing.
Holy fuck!
Oh, just embrace your inner maritimer, and as long as your point comes across, that's all that counts.
I don't know. It's a peeve of mine. Definitely a fucking peeve.
Okay, I'm gonna go for it.
So did you guys see this? The Project Veritas stuff?
Yeah. Just kind of too easy to me. It almost seems like they seem to be taking all these gay executives out and just getting all this information out of them.
They just talk.
Yeah, it just seems a little, because I forget now. There's a connection that Project Veritas is connected to. Who funds it is kind of these corporate Soros type characters type thing, So it might not be.
Right?
Yeah, or just kind of, it's almost like a controlled opposition sort of thing, right? And that guy, the guy who's speaking in that interview, is supposed to have been known as to being like a real prankster and kind of it'd be pretty easy to pretend you work for Pfizer or whatever, and you do all this stuff.
Oh,
Yeah.
I think they had the receipts though, because like they.
Hey there.
Pfizer released a statement.
Yeah.
And they don't deny him working there.
I mean, I don't know. Could
and
be.
And the first half of the statement is basically them saying like, "Nah, we never do that." And then the second half is kind of them being like, "Yeah, we sort of did that."
Well, and there's the interesting thing.
Well,
like, there's nothing that
you can't
guy,
deny that.
There's nothing that guy said or anything that happened in that little interview that to anyone in the kind of truther community, nothing of that was shocking. It would only be shocking if you were like had total faith in Big Pharma, and then all of a sudden went, "Hey, what do you mean you guys were working on that?" You know, to like any kind of a even mild truther type person, you kind of like, you know, we know you guys have lied about everything all along the way.
Here's
so
their
it's
statement.
like,
this is what the Pfizer. This is right on the Pfizer website. This is their response to.
okay, yeah,
the
I mean,
allegations.
about gain of function, it's ongoing
Here,
research.
I'll turn the TV so that we can actually see it there, Chris.
Yeah, I read a few excerpts of this. Yeah.
Allegations of recently.
Working on taking goods.
Should we read it out, or?
Well, I'm kind of going through. People could read it on their own, but then they kind of say, "Yeah, well."
Most of this work is conducted on a computer simulation. Okay.
Yeah.
What mutation's that? Most of it, but not all of it. Most of it, or not all?
In a limited number of cases, when a
yeah.
full virus does not contain any known gain of function mutations, such a virus may be engineered to enable the assessment of antiviral. Yeah. And it's just typical legal gobbledygook of how do you say something without saying it and without, yeah. We all know they're fucking around with that stuff. I mean, nothing that they're ever going to say. I mean, you just have to know right away. It's corrupt to the core.
Yeah.
It's profiteering. It's crime.
Rotten right
You're
into
getting
the
down
black
to like
center.
what is the crime. So, for example, that's one of the things we were kind of talking about. That's really every week, but in particular this week a lot more. You're hitting mainstream things about these heart problems are getting harder to ignore.
Yeah.
People are having vaccine reactions. They are standing up. It's
Well, here they're saying myocarditis right here. The observed risk
Right.
is higher in adolescents males. It's like straight up says it.
Yeah, they're saying it, and So that kind of stuff is like they're just getting away with it. I think the only thing I find shocking about anything is that the people who have all got it, who were all calling us crazy conspiracy theorists,
well,
are not up in arms about it. Like they're still in shock. And my theory is, I think it's just in denial. Like,
well, there is some
what
of them
do
are in denial.
You admit that that you fucked up, and you don't know, and you got all your kids, and then you talked all these people into it, and there's proof that for 2 years you've been calling everyone crazy and calling them pieces of shit, the moral high road, and then all of a sudden, oh yeah, it turns out I'm a fucking shill, and I've been completely suckered and manipulated, but at least, what was it? The one came out, the guy who created Dilbert, the cartoonist, right? And he was very anti-vaxxer and was he was pro-vax and was very hard on the anti-vaxxers.
Yeah, and he came out.
He actually had the balls to come out and say, I was wrong. They were right. This sucks. But I got to admit, fuck, they called it.
Well, they got to remember, we're not anti-vaccine. We're anti-fucking experimental.
I never used to be anti-vaccine.
This is true.
Now I'm completely anti-vaccine.
Yeah, okay, never mind.
I'm like, as far as I'm concerned, I don't trust any studies. I don't trust certainly don't trust any medical advisor. Everything from fuel efficiency to you name it. I don't trust any of it. And I think anyone who does is insane.
Well, you can't,
because you just, it's like once you know that there's no rules to that class, to the corporate class, and it's all liquid. It's like, well, Matt, you're kidding yourself if you think you know. Like, is your phone bad for you? I don't know.
Doctors in Ontario do not talk out about this.
Yeah.
If
yeah.
you disagree, do not say.
I mean, and that right
That's
there.
not science.
Then you know, like.
Science
That's politics.
Exactly. So, like, okay, is your phone bad for you? Is radiation from your phone bad for you? Well, they say no. Do you trust them? I don't fucking trust them. I mean, I think we need an unbiased. Like, it all has to. Everything's got to start fresh, and I think that's a guaranteed. That's an inevitable outcome that everything is on the table now. In some ways, that's one of the good things I think that'll come out of this craziness is kind of like going, okay, we've got to come up with a better system for transparency. You know, we need like the concept of the scientific method, which we now know has been thrown out the window, you know, to some degree. Well, we need a method like the scientific method because it really works for experiments, you know. Well, we need something like that in transparency in government and in corporate and research and all that, because it's clearly all failed, you know. And I think that's kind of one of the hardest. I always said this anyways. I think that's one of the hardest parts of people who are coming to terms that they are the victim of a crime, right? We already knew there was a crime, and we were.
That's not just a crime. That's like a crime against humanity.
We're like bystanders to the crime, and we were saying there was a crime. And then you've got the people who are literally the victims of the crime, and they're still in that. They're in shock.
Yeah.
You know.
There's a lot of shock going on.
A lot of shock, and then you get the idea. It's like, okay, well, so you're gonna say, well, okay, it's just big pharma. Well, it wasn't just big pharma. What about media? Oh, well, yeah, okay. Well, what about government? Well, okay. Well, what about? I had a conversation with a friend of mine about that the other night, and I think he's because it's funny. Like I kind of see it. He's sort of in that shock thing. Like I'm trying to explain to him. Like, man, the scale of corruption is beyond what anything we've ever seen. And so that's why you get like things like I tried to explain this to another guy actually. We were talking about flat earth and stuff, and he's an astrophysicist, a graduate student. And he's like, well, you know, where I come from in Egypt, there's flat earthers, but it's all religion. I'm like, well, we have flat earthers here, and it's not because of religion. He's like, no, it's from religion. I'm like, man, you just moved here. Trust me. If you tell me in Egypt people are doing that because it's from like a very fundamentalist Muslim background, which is what he was explaining to me. Like, I believe you. I trust your opinion. Let me tell you, people who are in the flat earth community over here, it's not because of religion. There might be a tiny handful. It's because once you know that you can't trust authorities, everything's on the table. You know? And they might be totally wrong, because a lot of it, they'll say, well, because there's errors in your measurements. There's errors in this. You're not doing the experiments right. Fair enough. But I heard someone who's not a flat earther, she's a physicist as well. She did a YouTube video about why flat earthers are wrong, but they're not stupid. And she's like, you got people asking questions. As scientists, we should be thrilled. People are interested in what we do for a living. Like, this is the dream. This is what we wanted.
Yeah.
Who cares if they're wrong? Let's hang out with them. Talk about them. Let's teach them why they're wrong. Let's bring them into the fold, right? And which I thought was really smart. You know.
What's a better learning tool for kids or something?
Right.
Like questioning things.
And that's what I was trying to explain to Buddy. I'm like, look, man, it's like when people start realizing, like, okay, if the medical industry and the government and media and
OBS
and all that stuff, if you is that corrupt and you've been lied to that much, you're naive not to, at least in a part of your mind, question everything else. You know, like it's like a police officer doing an investigation.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, you thought this witness was on the up and up, you know, this guy. But then all of a sudden you find out, oh, he lied about a couple things. You know, you have to be thinking, okay, well, what if he lied about these other things?
What do you guys think about this?
Military leaders saw pandemic as a unique opportunity to test propaganda techniques of Canadian forces.
I read that a while ago. I think me and you even discussed that.
Just when we were talking about the levels that they went to.
Yeah.
It's psychological
Military of
warfare,
Canada admits that they use that as an opportunity to figure out how to use propaganda.
Yeah.
Do you not think every military around the world did the same thing?
Well,
China,
and then it begs the
Well,
question.
China was the first place they did it, and that's how they got
TikTok.
everybody into it.
And it makes you wonder, is it like, is any of this new?
right? Yeah.
Like, I don't think it is. I think the
You
only
get that-
new thing is that the public's finally figuring it out.
Did you hear that Russian
all across the
psychologist?
world, right?
The Russian psychologist talked about it in, like, what, the 70s?
You're
About how
talking
the Russians were going to do it.
Right, he was Brzezinski or something. He
Talking
was
about
at a
socialism.
yeah.
Yeah.
He was a communist defector. Yeah, I know who you mean. Yeah, really interesting. And then to see it all play out, right?
In the education systems, they would come through there.
But it makes you
Well,
wonder.
look at
like,
everybody that they're just passing through the education system now. Like
Oh.
everything is literally a participation trophy.
I just saw a thing that talked about bachelor's degrees and how the average IQ and here, I'll try to find it. It was just about like how that's gone down. So for a bachelor's degree a few years ago, 20 years ago, you would be a little bit smarter than you are nowadays. You just get one.
Well, it's interesting. You know, one of those things like I was always really interested in history, but at the end of the day, it's a consensus of opinion, right? And you expect that there's been research done. You expect it, but
do we really know?
Then you go back to this like, okay, but at the end of the day, there's a top of the pyramid. There's a top of the food chain who really gets to decide. And I remember one interesting thing, like, why is Egyptology its own science in history? But you don't have like Greek. I mean, you have Greek studies, but you don't really have Greekology. You don't have like a department in this country that totally controls.
Well, you do, but they call them myths.
Yeah, it's very, very weird. And carbon dating, a lot of those techniques that we've kind of been raised with our life to see as like concrete, rock solid things, maybe weren't as concrete and rock solid as we thought. So then all of a sudden you go, okay, well, could history be wrong? And, as any student of history will tell you, I mean, it does change over time. Your understandings change. We might be in the midst of one of those. In particular, forget about the ancient history.
We're in the biggest
modern
one
history
of all time.
Well, yeah. For example, what really caused World War I and II? When you go back into it and you look into a lot of these behind-the-scenes sort of deals and the way things were working, and in our history books, we just only have a portion of the facts.
We're only focused on one part of the story.
Yeah. One of the other big
Nazis bad, killed a bunch of Jews. That's like, I'm not being a Holocaust denier. Let's not start canceling Metal Dad.
Yep.
I'm just saying that's the only thing we hear.
Well,
and I'm not saying Nazis are good.
And if you look into the history of World War II and stuff, you start going, okay, well, man, like why was the Jewish community? It's not these big, huge, super wealthy business people who are the victims of anti-Semitism. It's always the everyday people like us. The average guy, Jewish family on the street who loses their home, loses their business, who gets harassed or whatever, whose synagogue gets busted up, right? It's not the lords in England who are these, it's never those guys. Just like in any ethnic group, right? It's this whole, we use these racism and these anti-Semitism and all these things when it really comes down to a class sort of thing. But then it was creepy as you look at the pandemic, how some of these people who were sort of champions of the underclass, like Noam Chomsky, this left-wing guy I used to think was pretty cool. His whole opinion during the pandemic, you see some of the interviews he'd say, well, the unvaxxed should be, ostracized from society and fed for themselves, and completely, if they starve to death, then they starve to death. And it's like, okay there, Mr. Equality, Mr. Let's bring down the state.
You see Neil
That's
deGrasse
pretty
Tyson's,
convenient, right?
You see Neil deGrasse Tyson's little tirade? Where he didn't actually say these things, and I'm not even really paraphrasing, but this is the impression he gave. It's, I'm a scientist, believe what I'm saying, because I'm a scientist.
Well, that's what he always says,
Yeah.
And it's like, no. No. It doesn't work that way.
No.
You're an astrophysicist, and if I have astrophysicist questions, I'll fucking ask you. But when it comes to anything else, don't give me that scientist, upper class, I'm smarter than you, I always know the answer. Fuck that. That's how you manipulate people, and that's how scams are done. Thank you.
He had no response to them when the guy said that there was no 5-year or 10-year long-term studies. Like, he just had nothing to say.
Oh, it's just, we had the Russian. And I was like, oh, okay. And, but did you? No. Because that's the thing, right? I mean, he's just getting paid. He's a mouthpiece. He's quick-witted. He's clever. He's perfect. And, you can say you're a scientist. That doesn't mean shit to me.
He's got charisma.
Yeah. I mean, he's
very charismatic. He's just
he uses the appeal to authority, the same they use in climate stuff, where they say, 99% of climate scientists agree on X. They just use that as a way of discrediting anybody that disagrees with them. Where did they get the 99%? Did they go out and poll every scientist on the planet?
Statistics can be manipulated. Those studies can be manipulated. And, I was trying to explain that to my buddy. He said, man, look, like, I know you're a studies guy, you're a numbers guy, but what do you know about organized crime? And as we started talking about it, I'm like, okay, you don't know very much about organized crime. Well, it's been a hobby of mine for years. And guess what? They don't need to corrupt the entire government. They just need the right people, and you get them, and you got the rest. That's how organized crime works.
Yeah.
And the idea that organized crime and corporate world are these two separate ends of the spectrum is now we're finding out maybe that's not the case. They're far more intertwined than we ever thought, And this idea that, organized crime's over here and governments and companies are sort of over here. Well, no, none of that. Those lines are far more blurred than we
realize
previously thought. Yeah, the censoring of the internet, what's true, what we depend on. It's very, 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 very interesting. Weird stuff.
The internet, the invention of the internet was both the greatest and the worst thing that ever happened to us, because it gave us access to be able to communicate with each other, which is amazing, like instantaneously anywhere across the world. But it also opened up the can of worms that has been hidden from us for as long as we can remember. And I was going to bring this up when you were talking earlier. We can't prove anything that happened before 1860. Because 1860 was when the first actual picture was taken, and it was taken in Moscow, Russia. And it was of a place that was built for over 1 million people, but only had 500,000 people in it. So, there, we can start saying that anything we're told may or may not be a lie.
That's it. So many
except
of
for
those
things
don't add up, right?
Except for things that we see or that we have recorded. And even now, with all the deep fake technology and all that stuff now, even now.
Well, that's fascinating too, right? Like,
is Joe Biden really Joe Biden? Because how can anybody that's supposed to be the leader of the free world be that dumb? I mean, I can't say that because...
or is it in anything? Like, when you see videos of Elon Musk, I mean, is it him? Do you know? How do you know? It's not that hard to fake. Like, it's... Nowadays, we've got the technology, the CGI, and obviously they've had it for a long time anyways. So, yeah, everything's up for grabs. It's a weird, weird time.
The other thing I like to bring up that I've been thinking about a lot lately is... And I'm not going to say everybody like I usually do, so I'm going to correct some of the speech that I usually say. But if we go back through history, or at least all the stories that they're telling us, most of history, none of our leaders or people fucking telling us that they're in charge have ever really been nice.
Yeah.
And it's always throughout all of history, a fucking constant barrage of rich people walk around saying, we're rich, and we paid these people to club you over the head with this fucking club. Now give me your fucking money. And give me your goddamn food.
Exactly.
And even today, and the only country, and this is why I say the fucking, for the United States having their issues or whatever we've been brainwashed to think about the United States throughout our whole fucking lives, they are the only ones that are actually truly free and it was because the right to bear arms.
Yeah, it's an interesting one.
It's the only country that has said you're allowed to own a weapon so that you can fight the government in case it comes to take away your freedom. Yeah. And by proxy,
we're seeing that here. What happens? Even with they don't
oddly,
want us to have guns here, right?
You know what? I'll even concede a little bit because Canada's the Canadian. I'm not going to the government. The government is owned by the royal family and the banks. Okay.
Yeah.
We're not talking government here. In Canada, the people, though, by proxy, is the only other country that can say that as well. Now, there's a lot of anti-gun people in Canada, so those people are kind of fucked. But there's also...
They have complete faith in the system.
Yeah.
They think it works.
Exactly. But there's also, strangely enough, more guns per capita in Canada than there is in the United States. Now, we don't have the big fancy machine guns and drones and shit, and maybe an odd tank. Right?
Yeah.
But we have lots of space, lots of place to hide, and we know how to take things down before we're seen.
Yep. That's right. Speaking of which, because remember they were going to do a gun grab in PEI? I heard that they had kiboshed that.
Really?
You know what I mean?
I didn't even hear about a gun grab.
What it was, they were going to do, it was going to be an experiment, and PEI was going to be the experiment where they were going to go from door to door and take the hunting rifles and all the handguns. And the PEI gun owners got together and said, no, we're not doing it. And then it became a question of, okay, so who's going to go door to door and seize these weapons? Like, are we going to do this? Are we actually prepared to do this?
Just to fact check you there, though, the United States has way more per person.
Do they?
Yeah, look at this.
That may be old information. Like I'm prone to being wrong.
So they say they've got...
I'm not saying they don't have the most.
So this is saying an estimate of civilian firearms per 100 persons. So for every 100 people in the States, there's 120 firearms. Falkland Islands are only half. We've got 34 for every 100.
All right, I've been fact checked.
It's just funny to see.
Now that's interesting though. Look at that. So if that's correct, if there's 34.7, so say there's 35 guns,
there's
30
more
guns
than there are population.
Say there's 30 guns per
here in Canada.
per 100 people in Canada. So there's 30 guns per 100 people in Canada, and then all of a sudden they get rid of a bunch of pistols and get rid of a bunch of rifles. What would that? Suddenly that number gets a lot lower. Suddenly it's like, oh, there's only 15 per 100.
See, I believe propaganda that was told to me.
No, it's not that you believe propaganda. It's just that you misquoted the statistic. The statistic is that the average gun owner in Canada owns more guns than the average U.S. gun owner. It's that more people in the U.S. own guns. So they're more likely to own one or two.
So I was still half right.
Yeah, everybody's got a gun in their...
gun owner here is going to have 20 guns, whereas in America you might have just one.
Yeah.
And that's just something you bought because your mom wants to be protected and she has it in her purse.
Because in America you do need a weapon.
That's not common in Canada because you have to go through so many things to get one. That you're more than likely a hunter, collector, someone that really enjoys.
But that's
guns.
scary. That means that's like only a little over 30% of Canadians have a rifle or have access to a rifle. So if we needed them all of a sudden, it'd be like, well, guess what? I mean, now you take half the population are the men, so the majority of the fighters would be men. So then you've got like, oh, well, we still don't have enough for all of you guys. We still only have enough.
But we're closer
for a little over half.
How many of those are 22s that are not really going to do anything for?
Oh, I don't know about that, man. A 22 is.
Well, you could take out a kneecap, and as long as you, because here's a principle of war. I'll tell you guys, it's not actually about killing the person. It's about injuring them so that it takes more people off the battlefield.
Yeah, and a 22 can shot to the arm, the leg.
Well, the arm would they probably keep going depending on how much of a bitch strap they have attached to their fucking back, right?
But still, like a bleeding arm slows you down.
But in the situation where you're talking about trying to get together 12.
But adrenaline would fucking keep you going, right? Adrenaline isn't going to help your kneecap.
Right, but still, it goes show like with a 22. If you got a good shot, like turns out.
But you'd have to be an incredibly good shot.
I'm not bad with.
And
a 22.
It would be close range.
A 22 is deadly from any range you can actually shoot it accurately from.
Yeah.
If you you could shoot it accurately from 400 yards, it's still gonna kill
In
you.
other words,
Headshot.
if you're hidden out somewhere and you got a tree line and somebody's coming over and you got a couple guys at 22s,
If they got body armor, you better be a good fucking shot because they're gonna be covered from head to toe and shit.
Yeah,
that's true.
Right,
but still,
it's got to be a face shot.
It just
if you
means
want to take
that
them
the
out.
fact that you have weapons and when you talk about like things like insurrections and whatnot, like they're not always going to have body armor, and there's going to be and then there's like, well, it's about like what do you do? It gets dirty, it gets messy, right? Yeah. Interesting though. So that's interesting about the guns. So so they take a few more. So there's the thing. Maybe you could check this out. It was the proposed gun ban, PEI, I think, like gun seizure, PEI, probably seizure, I think, or buyback. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, there it is. So whether it's true, if it was canceled before reversing, so January 12, 23. Yeah, so that was it. They were going to do it, and they canceled it.
Well, right now they've however, I think it's 2 or 3 years ago now, Trudeau put away that assault gun ban.
Because that incident in Nova Scotia that you found out was funded by the government.
Yeah, that whole thing was freaky, right? Like
he was like an informant.
Yeah,
but making like.
And it was a cache that they owned that got fucking robbed.
Yeah, and he had friends
almost like it was left unlocked.
Yeah, and he had friends that were cartel members. He was super connected.
Strange, eh?
And his business was registered in New Brunswick.
Yeah.
Which brought up a whole other kettle of fish. Apparently New Brunswick is like a Ukraine or Cyprus or Bahamas. It's a great place to have there's all kinds of international businesses that are registered in New Brunswick and they're just mailboxes. Yeah, we have a weird loophole when it comes to that sort of thing. So his businesses. And as a result, I learned about that. From that, it was like, oh yeah, we've got a really weird thing here, Yeah. So that whole situation was strange, and all of it just doesn't add up. That
like everything nowadays, like there's no matter what news story you come across or what we look up, you look at the TV and go, well, where's the rest of the information?
Yeah, exactly.
And why are you showing me the page with all the information on it, but there's things blacked out that I can't see?
So that's what's interesting. So we're talking about like Ukraine and all these things being sent over there. People talking about World War III and nuclear weapons.
Oh, is it time to bring up the Biden talk about World War III?
Could be, yeah, sure.
Do we have that still teed up?
Hang on.
I tell you one thing I'm leaning on these days. I don't think nuclear weapons are real.
Really? You're going to go anti-nuke?
I don't think they're real.
Really?
Why do you need them? Like Hiroshima and all that, they say, oh, well, this went on all this. Well, you ever seen a firebomb city? Looks the same. I don't buy it. They've never been used other than that one time, right? How fucking convenient. Awful convenient. And it wasn't like they didn't have all these kind of bombs that they could level the city with before. And isn't the radiation supposed to last forever? Well, aren't there people walking around there now? You can go visit all those things and take pictures. It's so like...
Wait, so like...
I don't think there's such thing as nuclear weapons.
Hold on, I'm not going to jump all the way into that deep end with you, but here's the question I'll ask. Are people just walking around in those places and they don't have it cordoned off like they do Chernobyl?
That's right.
So what you're telling me is that basically people still live there, and it's not like Chernobyl where it's a ghost town where an actual nuclear...
Our whole understanding of radiation might be even completely odd. There was a video that came out, and I didn't get a chance to see it. It got scrubbed, so I heard tell of it, though. Of a guy, after the Fukushima disaster, took a camera and put it on the fence and filmed himself sneaking in, walked around for a couple hours, came back, and was like, never died.
Well, you don't die instantly.
No.
Depending on how much there, you may get really sick.
Look at how all the animals just thrive in Chernobyl. And all the tour guides who were the tour guides of Chernobyl are workers who were too contaminated. So it was like, well, you're just going to live there. But I mean, these guys are still going around years later.
The idea that we're going to send in offensive...
Here we go.
And do you need World War III? I mean, it's another way of reducing population. or do you need the fear of World War III so you can continue your rip-off grift scam, right?
Let's see what this
equipment and have planes and tanks and trains going in with American pilots and American crews. Just understand, and don't kid yourself, no matter what you all say. That's called World War III. Okay? Let's get it straight here, guys. That old expression, don't kid a kidder. And today I'm announcing that the United States will be sending 31 Abrams tanks to Ukraine, the equivalent of 1 Ukrainian battalion. Secretary Austin has recommended this step because it will enhance the Ukraine's capacity to defend its territory and achieve its strategic objectives. The idea that we're going to send in offensive equipment and have planes and tanks and trains going in with American pilots and American crews.
Yeah, it's basically saying it's no longer a proxy war, but it's without officially declaring it. Yeah. The Germans are doing the same thing. It's all like legalese ways of doing
we're gonna
it
give
without
you the equipment, but we're not going to send our own people.
Right. And they got everybody afraid. Oh, there's going to be all these nuclear weapons, and oh, we got all these super bombs. We got all this stuff, and yeah, okay.
They just keep poking the bear, man.
But they've never been used since World War II. But how much money did that generate? How many arms sales on both sides were made? How much, right? Like there's big money in army bases, right?
Well, it's almost common knowledge now that the wars on this planet are always funded by fucking the same person, and they funded both sides.
Exactly. So this idea that all of a sudden, mutual assured destruction, and we got all these nuclear weapons, I'm thinking, you know what? I don't think you do. I think you're full of shit. I think you just got big bombs, the same bombs you always had. You get big bombs, and that's how it works. But it's the idea of it is brilliant. And when you look into how it was developed, originally the Americans had it, and then there was a lot of talk of like, well, we should be sharing this technology with the Russians, and that way it'll be fair, and we won't have to worry about this kind of responsibility. And some generals were saying, no. Then the Russians just happened to develop their own a couple of years later. Was there espionage? Was there secrets sold? Or was it like, listen, we got this deal going, and we're making a bunch of money off these weapons.
Yeah.
So you boys better invent some too. And it's like, oh, you're not allowed to have nuclear weapons. You can't have those. Oh, but you guys, you're in the cool club. Yeah, you can say you have them too. You can pretend you have them. And Iran's like, oh, we're going to pretend we have them. No, you can't pretend you can have them. Only we can pretend we can have them. I ain't buying. I think it's bullshit. Interesting, eh? And it challenges our whole life. It challenges your whole thing. It's like,
I can't refute that, but
it's interesting.
I'm going to chew on that a little bit.
Yeah, it's a fun thing to think about, right? And it won't hurt you. It's all of a sudden like, how dare you? Well, I just did.
Well, it does seem
try it on for size. Maybe it's wrong. I don't know. I'm not so sure it is.
Fear is the greatest weapon.
Yeah, man. It's genius. Right? It's genius, right? And it's like anything. Once you learn the trick,
people are easily scared.
Yeah.
Let's just be real here.
Do you want to go to break for a minute?
Or do you need to go for a smoke?
Yeah.
Let's do it.
Well, you can, if you want to take a break. If not, I'm sure. Well, I gotta go take a leak anyway, too, first, so. What's going on, everybody?
Right.
We're back. We were talking about nuclear weapons being fake, and Turbo made a move. Yeah, he moved his pawn.
Yep.
So I'm just thinking about the move that I want to do next.
So he's this guy. Yeah.
I think that would be pawn to what?
Yeah.
B. Which side do you start counting from? The left or the right? That'd be like B3.
Yeah,
D3.
Yeah. Yeah, the war grift, the whole just tax grift in general might be, I wonder, is it kind of wearing off? You know, slow, like once you get, it's that sort of momentum, you know, the 100th monkey effect or whatever. Once you get enough people kind of hip to it, it gets hard to control that kind of stuff. And even these private police and military and all these sort of, particularly the police though, that run on behalf of these grifters. You know, after a while, once they're not safe, then that's the whole thing. Like right now, say you take our little town. Well, you know, the police and the RCMP will come in and run, and they'll kind of run their thing. But if you get to a point where people are like, overwhelming majority saying, no, we're not going to support this. And we know who you are. Like, they're not that anonymous. You know, when the protectors of the exploiters are suddenly targets themselves, that's when all of a sudden the whole house of cards tumbles, right?
Yeah. Well, I think I'm going to do that.
Okay. I'm going to start power chessing here. Yeah, interesting stuff. So it's
what do you guys think about the chess cheater? Did you hear about this?
Chess cheater?
No. The chess cheater.
Oh, you didn't hear about this? So at a recent world-class event with Magnus Carlsen, who's the world champion reigning for probably 13, 14 years right now.
Okay, yeah.
He played a guy who was very young, who rose in online chess throughout COVID.
Mm-hmm.
And in the middle of the game, Magnus resigned and left because he felt like there was something weird about the guy's play.
Really?
Yeah. I'll bring it up.
Interesting.
So he left, and then he didn't say anything. He actually resigned and withdrew from the tournament altogether.
Really?
And then he released a statement on, I think it was Twitter or whatever. He posted a thing, basically accusing the guy, just saying, again, using the legal verb.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Legalese, yeah.
Yeah, just doing that. Here, I'll kind of pull up.
So did he have some sort of AI assistance type thing, right?
The rumor that
Chat GPT of chess, right?
The mainstream rumor was that it was a butt plug vibrator, a remote vibrator.
Really? Oh wait, maybe I did hear something about that.
It all comes down to butt play, doesn't it? Oh, jeez.
And then now the guy's suing him and a couple of other big prominent chess people, like podcasters and stuff, for like $100 million for defamation. Yeah. And chess.com, which is like the biggest chess website for playing chess online, they banned the guy from their tournament that they did. Yeah. Now he's been caught cheating on their website before, and his chess teacher was caught cheating as well, and kicked off of chess.com for using engines.
Well, how interesting, eh? Yeah.
The way that they catch them is really interesting on the chess.com thing, because they basically just look at your moves compared to what the most optimum computer moves are.
Right.
And they can kind of catch patterns, right? In
Yeah.
your play, and all of a sudden it skyrockets, and you just like, but not just in how many good moves you make, but in how few mistakes you make. Because it's not normal for a person to go like a certain amount of moves without making a blunder or whatever,
Right.
So,
yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's really cool how they have algorithms that can catch that kind of thing and really.
Well, if there's money involved, there's like it invites the corruption, right? I mean, that's just like anything, right?
Just like anything.
Speaking of which, there's the weird one. Was it Damar Hamlin, the guy who had the heart attack on, right? The football player.
Yes,
and did you see his public appearance?
Yeah, where they didn't show his face.
Yeah, so he comes back to watch a game, and he had his face all covered, and they never did show his face. You could see part of like his
Is
mouth.
that the football guy that had the heart problem on the fucking field?
Yeah.
Okay. They couldn't see his face?
They would. So right away, let's just like, oh, that's totally normal.
Yeah. Especially with all these big, expensive cameras all around the arena, like every other time you've seen something.
Man, and I've just seen too many weird shit. I remember seeing a couple clips of like these celebrities, like it was like Shaq or one or two people like that, at a big football game in the States, and the cameraman wasn't supposed to be looking at them, and he went up, and they were fucking robotic mannequins, and there was a guy up there like fixing their eyebrows and making sure their makeup was right, and they're just like these fucking robots. And then you'd see, so when you sometimes see a lot of these celebrity things, it's like, how do you really know they're even fucking there, man? And that was probably a guy in a Damar Hamlin mask. They probably didn't have time to do a proper one. So they probably just, well, we'll get the jaw. That's easy. Don't worry about the rest. He'll just wear the thing. You're an actor. You do your deal. Right? Because we all know those.
Was he wearing a football helmet?
No, he was just a guy watching, so he had just a tracksuit on and a big jacket, like bulky clothes.
Yeah.
So you couldn't really tell.
He was wearing his like track jumpsuit, like hooded jacket.
And he went out and did like the heart sign. Everyone's like, oh, it's the Mars. But yeah, that dude, I bet you he died right on the field. And now it's just damage control. We'll go out, we'll do a little actor, it'll be weird, but whatever, let people talk. And we'll just say it was obviously him. That's a conspiracy theory. Yeah. And then damage control, because oh shit,
he's gonna leave the league.
Because what I've seen is they fucked up because obviously, like, how many politicians have you seen dying suddenly? Exactly, it's always newscasters, normal Joes, right? How many?
Well, I have heard that all of them are dead already, and we're just watching the biggest pantomime.
There's
ever.
There's that too.
There's that whole conspiracy.
But if you kind of go from like, obviously they're getting placebos. They're getting, like, I had a conversation with a friend of mine. He goes, you know how like the Pfizer one, they had to keep it at like minus 80 degrees or whatever. He goes, what happens if you don't? Like, does that mean it won't kill you then, or is it no good? I said, I often wonder, like the nurse in Germany who they sentenced to house arrest for giving out thousands of saline injections. I wonder how much of that's been going around here. People went in to go get their shots, and these fucking nurses knew exactly what the score was. They're like, oh yeah, you're good to go. Just gave them a saline, like,
well,
hopefully.
If you believe this is the greatest pantomime of all time theory, then part of that theory is that at least 50 to 75% of the shots that were given out was actually all saline.
Well, because it was it was placebo. There's a bunch of placebos, and then then they try out a certain batch to see how it works on this genetic group, and this one works on this one that.
Yeah,
the whole.
Well, it actually should be to just even actually have a control group. That's just actually proper science. You would never give the whole group all of it. That wouldn't even make sense.
Right.
You wouldn't be able to know anything.
Yeah.
Yep.
That was a question that I brought up with some people during the whole thing. I asked them, what should be the amount of people we keep completely unvaccinated as a control group? Is it 5%, 10%, 15%? What do you think it should actually be?
Yeah, we all gotta get it.
And they were saying 90. Remember, 95% was the threshold in New Brunswick before they were going to open things up. And you're going, that leaves virtually not enough to actually gather meaningful data of the control group.
Yeah.
So you want to eliminate that scientific realm altogether. If it's 100%, we have no idea of knowing the long-term effect.
Yeah. Yep. So
there you go, folks.
Crazy.
What can you really believe, and what is really fucking real? I don't know. You tell me. I know Chris is real, and I know James is real because they're sitting here right in front of me right now. So I don't know.
Or we're in the simulation together. I've been flip-flopping back on that a little bit lately. It's just like, well, it's not entirely crazy, Like,
it makes a lot of sense, because especially if you look at it that you're fucking just a reflection of the almighty thing, looking back on the almighty thing, going, wow, that's kind of cool.
I heard a new spin on the simulation theory. I guess it's my move, is it? Okay, time to start getting reckless.
want to start clearing pieces off the board? Is that what you're saying?
So this one was, what if we're in a simulation? Okay. But it's future us or the future world. It could even be us. But there's this crazy simulation going on because maybe we fucked up somewhere along the lines. Or for example, it could have been like, oh, I just moved my bishop over here.
No. Oh, you're talking
maybe
about.
the...
No, but am I missing something? Oh, you moved your bishop, Brian, that I missed.
What
there.
did you?
And now there?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and it was the idea was that we could be in a simulation. So say, for example, there's this big pandemic grift going on, and it ends up into this nasty, nasty World War III situation. So that you have the future folks going, okay, let's do a simulation and find out where it went wrong and see if we can fix this. Something along those lines. And it's like, well, that'd be a good reason to do a simulation, to like try and avoid some sort of problem or something. Which is like an interest. I mean, it's pretty in depth, but
unlimited simulation.
I don't know. Yeah. And it depends on what your definition of a simulation. Like we'll say, okay, well, this is real, but if like from a 5D perspective type thing, this would be pretty video game. It's like, oh wow, you mean you like touch stuff and you can't go through things? Weird. Oh man, you gotta try it. It's crazy.
What was the math guy against the simulation theories thing? Was like the size conundrum. Is that like in order to make a simulator that can simulate just like atoms, you need like trillions and trillions of atoms to create that computer. So the idea that you could fit everything in the observable universe from our perspective into a simulator would require something bigger than that. And since we don't know even, it's like an unfathomable size of the universe, it's like...
Problem with those arguments is it's like what technology are you basing it on?
What kind of fractal fucking diagram are you fucking making for me right now?
Yeah. But when you start talking about weird off-the-chain stuff like that, it's like, well, then your nature of, what you think science is possible. But when you start, like, so you can imagine that it would be bigger than the universe to make the computer like that, but you can't imagine they could come up with a better computer? Like,
it would have to be bigger.
Like, what do you mean? Like, you don't think someone could, that a society that advanced couldn't figure that out? Like if you could think of the problem, you can't picture like a society with 1 million, or 10 million years advanced, more, experimental and advanced technology wouldn't maybe be able to crack that little problem you came up with. Like our computers our computers are pretty small. They're pretty good. Like it just keeps going like that. Like isn't it?
Castled, it's your move. Castled king size. Side.
Castled king size. What does that
mean? It means when I castled my king, I did it to the king side, because you can castle on the king side or you can castle on the queen side.
That was your next move after his bishop?
Yeah.
Okay, I see. Yeah.
Right?
Okay.
You know what castling is?
Yep. Yeah. Okay, I'm going to do a little of this. Get these boys out on the game. Yeah. Yeah, I think the interesting thing with like androids, and not like fully, you don't have to be like walking around androids and stuff, but things like that. If you have just an android to kind of sit there and just kind of, oh, look at these celebrities, boom, and then they're gone, then it's enough to work on TV. Like that's just showbiz. And then with the masks, then you can easily simulate celebrities and political figures on television. And body doubles is one of the oldest tricks in the book. I mean, politicians have been using body doubles. It was super well known, at least as what we're told in the World War II, that they used body doubles all the time. Like Winston Churchill had 3 or 4. Hitler had a couple.
Imagine that plus the deep fake video stuff.
Yeah, and then and then some makeup.
Saddam Hussein had like 7 of them for fuck's sakes.
It's pretty fucking easy.
90s.
And when you start,
23.
Yeah, exactly. So you start kind of putting that together, and it's just like
real. Biden could be dead.
For all we know, they could be shape-shifting reptiles.
They brought Tupac back like 10 years ago.
Yeah. Didn't he put out a new album yesterday?
Yeah. There's a commercial that was just out. It's for a company called Kayak, and it's some sort of travel company that helps you get good deals, right?
Yeah,
and
yeah.
It starts off, they're these reptilians, but they look like whales. They're like these whale reptilians, and they're sitting around a table, and they're like, ha ha, we've made it so expensive to travel. Now we can have our secret meeting on this golf course. And of course the girl's like, hey, what are you guys doing here? What are you doing? They get all mad. But it's just the fact that they have these things like it's just part of like commercials now. That concept is like kind of just there. And it's become not just a joke, but it's part of like, oh yeah, no one would be like, what's that supposed to be? You know what I mean? It's like, oh no, those are the reptilian overlords, you know, like. Doomsday Clock announcement. No, where are we now? 2 minutes to midnight for all the Maiden fans?
90 seconds.
90 seconds. Yeah.
We wouldn't be that lucky to get 2 minutes. 2 minutes to midnight!
Which would be, how does that go?
Probably something off of
chords.
Change it to 90 seconds.
90 seconds to midnight, and the bombs are gonna drop tonight.
That's not 2 minutes to midnight, is it?
Is that the most pretentious thing that you've ever seen? The 90-second clock?
It is pretty pretentious. Like, who?
We're gonna gauge how close we are to imminent doom.
Yeah, yeah.
A group of scientists.
Turn up the fear notch. Oh, 90 seconds.
You
Oh.
think 90 seconds, you say? I beg to differ.
But how did the Walmart sales increase? 10%, sir. 10%, not bad. How's my croissant stocks? Excellent. They don't seem to like peanut butter. Panic and peanut butter don't go together. Oh, we gotta work on that.
So the second hand has stopped working. Well, go whip the slave who's running the clock.
Put the monocle back on, Mr. Peanut. But we just removed it, sir. Back on.
It was really funny watching the announcement thing though, because they're all standing around and it's like just like this group of people, like it's just like they're all wearing like suits and shit, and they're just like, we of the Society of Scientists move the clock to 90 seconds, and they like go over and like pull this like thing down, and it's like the clock, you know, it's like and you just go, okay, like
what the fuck is?
What is this? Like,
thank you for wasting 5 minutes of my time. What? How much did this cost? Like, man,
what are you trying to accomplish? Is the real question. What is the actual goal, intended?
What are you
goal
trying to
of
tell us?
That's what I always look when I see anything news, media,
is it like
work,
30,
yeah.
like do we say like every day is 30 minutes, so like 3 months? Which is oddly also timed, because me and Todd last week were talking about something. I don't know. I don't know if we got it on camera. I don't think we were talking about it on camera, but we were talking. He was telling me about how there could be this 3-month window starting around now where things are going to get really, really bad and really, really different, and a lot of different things are going to happen. And it also just happened right after we were talking about this. All of a sudden, you sent me the 90 seconds to midnight fucking memes and shit, or links, actually. It was links to the article.
Yeah.
And it just awfully, like, eerily synchronistic. It's like, what the hell is... So, is that what they mean? Like, each day is a minute? And that was like 3-month window that they're giving us to kind of dot our T's, cross our fucking I's.
Weird, eh?
You know what I mean?
Doomsday Clock, yeah.
I believe it's my move, isn't it? It is.
Yeah, it's all bullshit.
I really am like...
What a great way to just hide money. perfect. It's perfect. Yeah. Oh, we need to upgrade. Oh, we got to upgrade them. Yeah.
How much did it cost the taxpayer to make that clock?
Yeah. Not only are we upgrading the weapons, I got an idea. Wait, no. We're gonna make a clock, and we'll change it every once in a while. What's that?
They will go for that.
Yeah.
Oh, they will.
They'll totally go for it. And then we'll just tell them we need more of those missiles. Oh, okay, yeah. And then we'll get rid of the silos and sell them. My cousin's in real estate. Whack it. I got an idea. Let's grow weed in them.
That seems like a right chipper idea.
I have an idea. We'll make them eat bugs.
Yes, they will love the bugs. It'll be good. We'll tell them it's nutritious. We'll dip them in chocolate for them.
Well, apparently now they're putting some of that protein powder. They don't have to say they're doing it. In Europe, they're already doing that. They're putting it in products and whatnot.
Really?
Yeah.
That's a real thing?
Yep.
And apparently bug protein has like...
Chitin.
Yeah.
Chitin, which we can't digest.
Really?
It's going to make people sicker. Oh, don't worry. We've got the indigestion pills for that.
Great.
You'll love it. Yeah, there's weird fertility issues going on with eggs now. A lot of people are finding that's going on.
Yeah, testosterone numbers are...
Yeah, that's been dropping for a long time, eh? The sperm counts have been going for
50s.
a long... Yeah.
50s to...
I think that's a plastics thing.
It is.
To me,
it's a whole bunch of different things.
Yeah.
And pesticides.
Yep.
Glyphosate.
And that too, the glyphosate.
Well,
it's making the frogs gay. So
that's
this comedian, she was talking about that. She's like, oh, you're probably got Florida. The guy, I forget how it worked, and she was talking about something like that. Makes the frogs gay. And someone's like, what do you think about that, buddy? He's like, well, I don't know. I'm gay. She's like, oh yeah, you drink fluoride water too, don't you? Think about it. Whatever. It was fucking funny. Oh man.
Bishop.
All right. You moved your bishop? Okay.
Yep.
So, I'm going to start getting a little bit more, I don't know. Oh. Teeny tiny moves. Usually I used to play chess on one of my phones. I had a great little simulator. I learned a lot, and then I got to level 4 and just totally brick walled. I could not beat this one level of chess. No matter how hard I tried. It was just, you get me every time. It was crazy. Yeah. And I think that was 2 minutes to midnight.
Yeah, there's a chess bot on chess.com called Mittens. That's like a cat. And they just they release different chess bots that you can play occasionally, right? And they just had it set to a level 3000 or something. So it's destroyed you.
Destroyed by Mittens?
Yeah.
Just totally morphed into
Guns N' Roses.
That'd be a great medley. 2 minutes to midnight with Kickstart My Heart.
Oh, kickstart my heart. Ha 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 ha. So, I'm totally on the defensive here, and I'm just I don't even know what I want to do.
I've got some serious strategy going on here. Make a move and don't give a fuck. Just all out.
Just all out go.
Yeah, don't worry about it. Yeah. So let's see, what else have we covered? We did the Hamlin thing, little simulation, little chess, little guitar. What else? Yeah, the war in Ukraine, the massive money grift going on there.
Tanks. Tanks to nowhere.
Well, it's weird. The German tanks that they're sending over is kind of like they're sending over old tanks and the old equipment so that they can get new tanks. But I forget who it was. It was an American general talking about it. He's like, well, and you probably know more than I would about this. It's like, you can't just like send them a bunch of tanks. Like, you got to train them on how to run them. And then you got to have all the spare parts because they break. You kind of, the boys are hard on them. And so you got how many bearings
they
and
really
tracks.
are.
And yeah, I mean, like, what do you expect, right? So it's like all this sort of stuff. So they can't just like send them and all of a sudden, oh, the next day, okay, let's send them in the field. We're good to go. It's like, no, it's far more complex for that. Yeah, Zelensky, the 5'2".
Is that all he is?
Oh, I don't know how tall he is. He's tiny. He's not a big guy. He's just a little fella.
Of course he is. What was his wife doing at Davos?
Yeah, that whole thing was strange.
It's weird how little stuff is on YouTube. There's a thing of Zelensky talking about BlackRock and investors instead of JP Morgan.
Oh, yeah.
Really?
There's a big investment opportunity for them.
Oh, yeah, because they'll blow up the whole old world and then you can build all new stuff, yeah. Their little 15-minute cities they want us to live in.
Yeah, man.
It's funny, though. I remember a buddy of mine was on a chat. He's pretty hip to what's going on. He's wide awake. But we were kind of joking. It's like, actually, 15-minute cities aren't too bad. We used to call those downtown. Like, you know, it's like that's having a good apartment downtown. You know, so you can get your groceries, you get a bakery, you've got like, yeah, it's not like a new concept. They've had that to how towns used to run forever. You just didn't have to ask permission to leave.
Hey, Brian.
Yo.
I'll get you guys to give me your reactions to this. I'll play the video for you.
Okay.
It is obvious that American business can become the locomotive that will once again push forward global economic growth. We have already managed to attract attention and have cooperation with such giants of the international financial and investment world as BlackRock, JP Morgan, and Goldman Sachs. Such American brands as Starlink or Westinghouse have already become part of our Ukrainian way. Your brilliant defense systems, such as HIMARS or Bradleys, are already uniting our history of freedom with your enterprises. We are waiting for Patriots. We are looking closely at Abrams. Thousands of such examples are possible, and everyone can become a big business by working with Ukraine in all sectors, from weapons and defense to construction, from communication to agriculture, from transport to IT, from banks to medicine. And I believe that freedom must always win.
Like,
what's that the symbol on his shirt? You ever wondered about that?
Can we get a zoom in on that?
Is that like the Decepticon symbol?
Screenshot that and zoom in or some shit.
He always wears that same symbol.
That's something to do with Saturn. I've seen that symbol before.
It's like probably a Ukraine symbol.
No, that's some kind of fucking deep fake fucking symbol.
There it is. It's the coat of arms. Yeah.
What does it mean though?
It is weird.
Looks like a sword in the middle and something like two faces looking at each other.
Jacob and Boaz.
Alright, well that gets rid of that fucking question.
Weird. Yeah. 20. Just sell more weapons. Come take over.
That
Fuck all the business that's already here. Yeah.
That was like he listed off the conspiracy theorists list of evildoers verbatim.
Yep.
Whenever you run down the rabbit hole to see who's funding everything that's happening around the world, the only people he left off were the goddamn Rockefellers and the Swiss bankers.
Yeah.
Like, that's what I have to say to that.
Yeah.
That didn't even seem fucking real.
Pretty blatant. Well, he was addressing those guys, too. Like, it was at a meeting in Boca Raton or whatever. He was addressing them all, so. Yeah. Strange stuff. Get in on the grid. Is it your move or mine?
It is your move.
Oh,
I
wow.
moved. I think it was knight.
Okay. Well, let's get
it's
this.
black move.
Was it? Okay.
Yeah. Oh, no, you moved your knight.
Yeah. To... Yeah. H fucking 4. Is it 4? Yeah. H4.
I got it.
I'm just memorizing them fucking...
It's A. Because for you, it's...
Oh, for me. It would be... Oh, it would be A?
H, yeah. H5.
Okay.
Okay.
Or A5, sorry.
All right. Okay.
A little pawn moved up there.
Oh, we got your little pawn.
This fella.
The little pawn is moving up.
Yeah, the whole chess game, the whole Ukraine distraction. But it's just money grift. There's just so much money going. Pretend money, print money, going where? I don't know.
Like everything, I think there's a lot of nuance. It's probably both things. But always opportunists at every corner.
That's just it.
Capitalizing.
Yeah. That and there's the whole... It was always the government was always corrupt anyways. And they used to do a ton of money laundering there. And there's definitely that's going on.
Well.
Yeah. Weird. And now the game is afoot. How are we doing for time anyways, boys? 11:08. We need to get some high pressure. We need one of those timers to get this thing really moving.
All right.
Who'd you just move?
I moved my knight back over to here.
All right. Let's get a little pressure going here. Get my knight going. So we don't want this game to last 3 months.
No, we don't.
Oh, I want my fingers to work in the morning. They're so friggin' sore.
Move my queen's bishop in front of my queen.
So we've got conspiracies. We've got... What else? That's all we got. And I suppose we actually have a screenshot of the game. So if we decided to continue this game next podcast or something.
Oh no, we're not going to do that.
We could though. That's kind of cool.
We definitely could actually.
Super easy,
yeah. Because it is getting late, boys. I can't stick around too much longer.
Well, then let's get some fucking gaming going here. Then. Let's get some fucking gaming going, bud. I know what we want to fucking do.
It's reckless move time.
Reckless move time, he says.
So see if we've got like any kind of butt plug assistance.
It's funny because they do scan them for radio frequencies and things like that. But
oh yeah.
Yeah. But you just wonder, would it be hard to turn off, turn on? What do they? You know, they use metal detectors.
Has he got that much control that he can switch the butt plug on and off internally?
They do use a metal detector.
That's weird.
How serious do you go, right?
Yep. Well, and it depends on who's backing them. Who's yeah, strange.
All right.
Excuse me. Oh, he's going for it.
Good move.
That was who, your wee bishop, was it? Wow. Well, I might as well take him out.
With the queen?
Yeah. She's heating up on the old board now, boys.
She is heating up.
Reckless moves. Ah.
Take the pawn.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Then all I can do. Yes. Now you gotta move. Or do you? Okay, reckless chess. Let's go. I don't want to grow up. What else am I going to do here? Well, let's see. Okay, he's going to do that. Oh, yeah. Put a little heat on that fella.
Put a little heat on that fella, he says. Okay. Well.
Retreat!
Never surrender!
Fall back!
Never surrender!
But fall back just a little.
Yo.
Yeah.
We'll do it
Yeah,
on the next one.
we're getting pretty, we're in chess time. So as the battle rages on, we have the snapshot, we know where we've left off.
Alright, fine then.
This is actually a pretty tensiony, cool spot to leave. It's like, will he back off with the bishop? Or will he let it fall to the knight? If he does move the bishop, will the queen take out the knight? And will that leave him up to...
You want to sound us off, Metal Dad?
Well, we spent too much time talking about everything else, so we didn't really get down to the nitty gritty, but sometimes you don't really want to rush a game of chess. And, you know, everybody's right. This is a good time to leave the chessboard. We have a screenshot. Thanks to everybody coming out. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Chris, thanks for coming out and spitting shit as always.
My pleasure, my pleasure.
You know, we got the instruments, but, you know, we did a little bit of music, not too much, but we got the chess game.
Yeah, my hands are beat all to hell anyway, so...
Well, it is what it is. We've been going for a while.
Yeah.
I had a lot of fun. We'll pick up this game next week, or whenever the next time Chris can make it out. Until then, double medal,